Hello, it's Ricardo and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Time to turn our attention now to the Common and Garden Space Station, the Outpost, the ground settlement, whether it be an Oculus, a Coriolis, or just any old normal outpost. The space station seems to be everywhere in Elite Dangerous, being a hub for industry, repair and trade. I've got 10 ideas, well 10 initial ideas as it happens, for next level space stations and what in-game assets could be used to enhance gameplay, enhance immersion, that player connectivity to the game. All the assets already exist in-game, but how can we use these space stations to increase that gameplay? That's what we're going to discuss in this video. Hello and welcome back, Commanders. Well, as we know, space is indeed vast, and so is the Elite Dangerous galaxy, but peppered through space and this vastness are space stations, outposts, land bases, settlements, especially if you've got Odyssey. Now, as awe-inspiring as these Elite Dangerous space stations are, these colossal outposts are critical. They're hubs for trade, commerce, repairs, social interaction, refueling, and they shape the core gameplay of the game. However, I do believe there is some room for improvement to deepen the immersion of the game and foster a stronger sense of community and streamline some activities. And with that, the first thing we're going to talk about is ambience and functionality inside the space stations and outposts. So straight up, I have to mention that Frontier have done a fantastic job of having a little bit of identity within the stations, especially in the docking ports. You fly into an agricultural docking port, you can see all the plants and crops growing inside hydroponic chambers as you fly in. You fly into an industrial space station and it looks really industrial with industry going on all around you. You fly into a tourist one, so very nice and clean, especially the high-tech imperial ones, so on and so forth. My biggest thing is the interactive elements that actually sit inside these stations. Yes, we have the concourse, and yes, you have the docking ports. Why can't the concourse be expanded to warehouses? Why can't you walk down the gardens of a tourist station? Why can't you go to warehouses in an industrial sector? And in turn, that could lead to additional missions. These additional missions could be take a group of NPCs on a tour around the station. I don't know. It's a role, it's a job function within Elite Dangerous. Be a tour guide. This could then move on to, once you've taken them around these stations, then you jump into your tour guide ship and take him on a tour guide mission to some sort of beacon or a nebula or a black hole somewhere. Alternatively, you could be working for the police, the local law enforcement, busting illegal activity on the station in a warehouse. Alternatively to that, look at it from a different angle, you could also be somebody looking to thwart the police and do a dodgy deal as well. In addition to this, you could also have combat based on the stations. People doing naughty things. There could be invasions from pilots. Hey, even the Thargoids could give you a little bit of beef. Yes, they damage the outside of the station, and yes, they cause the inside to go red and very hot, but that's but the limit of it. Why can't we have repel pilots from space stations? Or indeed outposts. We were getting it in ground settlements. Why are these floating hubs in space impervious to this level of attack or incursion? It could be a really good gameplay experience, and to open up this sort of interactivity to space stations will only just add additional depth and immersion to the game. Talking about immersion, now hear me out on this. What about interactive ship maintenance? Now I know we've got an engineering aspect of things inside of Elite Dangerous, and that was refurbed, I think, after people were getting many god rolls around about in the Elite Dangerous Horizons phase, perhaps even beyond, where you had now you've got a set type of engineering. What I'm talking about is getting players to have a more personal connection with their ships, a favourite ship. Everyone's talking about having space legs and having to walk around the ship interiors. I think this aspect might actually cause a better part of immersion. Perform some level of maintenance, a skill set that you can build within Elite Dangerous. At the moment, it relies strictly on the player and whether the player's feeling up to it. But having levels of skill set that can affect better repair, perhaps cost you less money, might be a good way of invoking this. Just a thought. On to the next section of how I would improve space stations and outposts and possibly ground settlements. Apartments. Why can't you have a billet, a barracks, an apartment on a space station or outpost? Or other habitat, really, in Elite Dangerous. Seems like a no-brainer to me. You could go from the lift to the concourse, from the concourse to another lift to your apartment. Other games seem to be able to do it. And in turn, you can then furnish that apartment with things that speak to your own personality. You could have it all pink. You could have it all blue. You could have it all black. Who cares? You could have a lamp. You could have a statue. You could have a carcass of a Thargoid revenant hanging on the wall, or any other bit of fauna or foliage that you might find here, there and everywhere. Who knows? But you could then use customizations inside the game to give you a little bit of extra personality. I think apartments at space stations or outposts or wherever we're talking about at the moment would be an actually fantastic thing to have, and build that connection between the person and a home system. Now, perhaps Frontier don't want people to be bound to any particular home system. They want people to go roving around the universe, and you can still do that, but it's always nice to have some place called home, don't you think? Elite Dangerous is very rich in lore, and this lore is kind of confined to like Galnet and a little bit of power play here and there. You have to go out and find this lore. Yes, you can find some of these things at abandoned settlements and all that sort of stuff, but you know, how did Jameson Memorial come into being? Unless you read up on the lore, there's nowhere in game that's really going to tell you about this apart from the codex. Why isn't it inbuilt into the station itself? Now let's talk about Colonia. Jacques space station up there. How cool is that? But you don't see him at the bar, do you? This android who jumped his space station all the way to Colonia somehow over hundreds of years. Unless you know the lore, you don't know why you should be there. It's strange, isn't it? We've got all this stuff around the superpowers and the ideology and the politics going on. It's a bit boring, isn't it, really? But the lore that is quite rich inside of Elite doesn't seem to get a mention about that. Yes, there's been some stories done in the past, and we've had Salome by Drew, and we've had all this other stuff that's been going on, but it's lacking the lore. And the lore, even if it is there, is lacking its integration into the space stations. There should be statues of Jameson in Jameson Memorial, for example. Stations that have had incursions with the Thargoids, there should be statues of commanders who have helped to repel Thargoids at that station. Little tweaks like that will really add to the added bonus of the game. We also seem to have an awful lot of populated stations. We've got abandoned settlements on the surface of planets, but there's no abandoned outposts or stations. And that could lead to another mysterious set of missions. Let's go do ghost missions. Let's go do zombie missions. Let's try and find out why we go into an abandoned station that can have different hazardous on-foot problems. I don't know. All this seems to be ideas that could be integrated pretty easily with in-game assets. Of course, to have this sort of like run round a station aspect, you have better station interiors, and we've spoken about that in this video already. Abandoned stations could also lead to station conflicts, and we've already spoken about that. This could all be impacted by power struggles, political turmoil, and we've already mentioned criminal activity. Why not go to an abandoned station? It's been taken over by pirates. You can then turn around and then, hey, lo and behold, take back that station, bring it back into service. Affect the background simulation in these systems. I don't know. Compelling, no? Let me know in the comments. Reputation. Have you been a naughty or a good commander? If you've been a naughty commander, you can still get in, and no one inside plays the blindest bit of notice to you. But if you've been a good commander, they just let you dock. Why can't you get additional discount if you've been a good commander at some of these stations? Why can't you get more favourable prices at the bar from the bartender? And while you're at it, why can't you buy a drink at the bartender? You know, and just sit there with a pint. Enhance that social collaboration aspect of things with other commanders and buy them a Lavian ale. Or even a sausage. Who knows? But what I'm saying is, reputation. When you walk in, have the NPCs react to you in a favourable manner. Have the guy in Pioneer Supplies, Pioneer Services say, "Ah, Commander Ricardo, welcome back. You've done a couple of solid gold missions for us, and for that, look at this. We have the opportunity here to sell you an upgraded weapon." Now, I don't normally do this for a lot of people, but as for you, as you are a friend to us, I got a super special deal for you on this. Not give it away, but give you the option. This could be another way of using stations and outposts to impact immersion. Well, I've kind of ranted on for about 10-12 minutes on this one now, trying to get my thoughts out into a video. Let me know what you think if you're still with me. Hey, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you think, and perhaps we'll make another one on this topic. I think stations are an untapped resource in Elite Dangerous, outposts, and, you know, ground settlements. There's more to say and there's more to do on this. Let's see if Frontier will listen.